In my last video, I talked about how I used to explain myself to partners over and over again, believing that if they understood I was unhappy in our relationship, they'd surely start doing something about it. They didn't. This reminded me of another thing I've been wanting to talk about, predators, and one of the ways they gaslight people. Heads up, I'm about to talk about force tickling. No dramatic reenactments or anything, just verbal descriptions of some things that happened. Also, there will be a single unexplicit mention of sexual assault near the end of the video. When I was a child, I had adult relatives who would pin me down and tickle me. Being tickled feels horrible to me, like my guts are turning inside out. It also makes me unable to really breathe or speak, so when whoever was tickling me just kept going and going, I assumed it was because they didn't notice me trying to say no and stop. Or maybe someone explicitly told me that's why they didn't stop. I don't remember. In retrospect, the fact that I was trying to physically fight them off during the tickling and would be upset and withdrawn afterward was a big damn clue that I wasn't having fun. I guess it was easier to blame myself than to realize that people I loved were being abusive on purpose. But I digress. My point is that being tickled is connected to childhood trauma for me. When I got older, like teens or 20s, an odd pattern started asserting itself in my life. I'd hit it off with a new person, start hanging out with them, and at some point when we were alone together they'd ask, "Are you ticklish?" in an ominous voice and sort of wiggle their fingers at me. The first time this happened, I recoiled and said, "Don't." They tickled me anyway, and when I freaked out they acted surprised and said, "Geez, if I'd known how much you hated it, I wouldn't have done it. You should have been more clear." I took this at face value. I thought people would start respecting my bodily autonomy if I could figure out how to express my no in just the right way. The next time someone asked if I was ticklish, I made sure to say, "Yes, but don't do it, I hate it." The person tickled me anyway, and when I freaked out they acted surprised and said, "Geez, if I'd known how much you hated it, I wouldn't have done it. You should have been more clear." Each additional time this cycle repeated, my no speech got longer and more detailed. It got to a point where I found myself telling someone, "Yes, I'm ticklish, don't do it, I hate it," and it's connected to childhood trauma for me. Tickling me is just about the worst thing someone could do to me, and if you do it, I will try to kill you. I'm not kidding or exaggerating when I say that, I mean I will actually, literally try to murder you. And if you survive, I will cut you out of my life forever. I'm serious. Don't tickle me. The person tickled me anyway, and when I freaked out they acted surprised and said, "Geez, if I'd known how much you hated it, I wouldn't have done it. You should have been more clear." Sometime after this, I had an unrelated period of introspecting and working on myself. I think that self-work changed the sort of person I felt a rapport with, because at some point, new friends weren't creepily asking me if I was ticklish anymore. The subject simply never came up. But I still obsessed over those past tickling incidents. I still racked my brain, wondering what I should have said to someone to make them not assault me. If stating how I felt about being tickled, why I felt that way, and what the consequences would be if someone did it wasn't clear enough, what the hell would be? Finally one day it hit me, nothing I could say would have stopped any of these people from tickling me, because their intention was never to respect me, their intention was to tickle me. They didn't care that it would distress me. That was just a story they told. Well, actually, not to be pedantic, but it's inaccurate to say they didn't care if tickling me caused distress. The prospect of getting a huge reaction from me is exactly what they liked about it, as was obvious from the gleefully threatening way they brought it up. I just glossed over that red flag because the alternative was realizing that someone I liked wanted to deliberately traumatize me. But anyway, my point is that the whole "if only you'd been clear" thing was absolute bullshit. A lie. A ruse to make the aggressors not look like the calculated abusers they were. Incidentally, this thing of being told, "I violated you because you didn't use the right words to tell me not to," happened to me with sexual assault too, and it played out the exact same way. It sucks that I've been preyed upon so much in my life, but I think hitting the point where I was communicating at maximum clarity and still being told, "I didn't know," has been transformative for me. I really understand now that the assaults I've been through weren't my fault. I don't just know this in some abstract platitude-y way, I know it factually, because I did the literal most and it still didn't work. And that's a huge burden off my shoulders. I hope that in sharing my story, I can take the burden of self-blame off someone else's shoulders too. Thanks for watching.